Glass, an amorphous solid. It's a medium that is beautiful and versatile. Used for art and industry, it was a significant factor in the growth and development of Muncie and Indiana.
It's varied and it's dynamic and it's always exciting.
The canning jar, it was a revolutionary element.
Glass left a legacy etched in Muncie. Several decades preceding the 1900s, a large well of natural gas was found under many east central Indiana cities. This was caused by a geologic structure called the Cincinnati Arch, which trapped natural gas and oil in a 4,000 square mile area between Indiana and Ohio. The Trenton gas field brought an increase of settlers to Muncie, as well as more business and industrialization. All total, the Trenton field yielded over 1 trillion cubic feet of natural gas and 105 million barrels of oil. At its peak, the Indiana Natural Gas Company used over 23,000 acres with 475 working wells. The Midwest was the hub of trade between East and West because of its location and relation with the railroad. The sand to the north and fresh water could easily be transported to the gas field, so it was a natural location for glass manufacturing. In 1887, the Ball Brothers Glass Manufacturing Company moved to Muncie from Buffalo, New York. Other glass manufacturers also began to pop up. In Delaware County alone, there were no less than 23 glass factories, with 61 between Blackford, Jay, Randolph, Henry, and Delaware counties. Glass companies of note include Albany Glass, Hemingway Federation Glass, Port Glass Works, Indiana Glass, Dunkirk, St. Gobain Containers, and of course, the famous Ball Brothers. During the Ball Brothers manufacturing peak in 1936, a plant could produce 30 jars per minute. The brothers own 5 plants outside of Indiana, and their headquarters employed 2,500 people.
There is obviously expertise in the area of glassmaking, and that can be formalized in terms of, you think of the canning jar was a huge. We're all here today because of that at Ball State. We wouldn't be here, at least under that umbrella, if there hadn't been the canning jar. It was a revolutionary element. It transformed food in America.
This gas boom caused Muncie's population to quadruple in 20 years, going from slightly over 5,000 people in the 1880s to over 20,000 people by the 1900s.
Ball came here and first started producing here in 1888. And there were, of course, a lot of other glass houses, too, brought here by the gas boom. The gas boom was concentrated in east central Indiana. So actually, yesterday we did a talk on the gas boom in the glass industry. And one of the points in that was that there are bigger towns in east central Indiana, Muncie, Henderson, Richmond, Kokomo, which is pretty much just central Indiana, than there are in west central Indiana. Bigger towns developed on this side of the state than on the western side of the state, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that the Trenton gas field was concentrated in east central Indiana. So it brought people in, a lot of gas was wasted, and the gas went away.
The Trenton gas field was unregulated and inefficient. Wasteful usage caused its immediate consumption and subsequent depletion. In the 1890s, a drop in pressure within the field was noticed. The natural gas was all but gone by 1910. Industrialization slowed, even though Muncie continued to grow well into the 1950s. But soon, factories and plants all across Indiana began to close, and Muncie entered an economic slump. And what about the Ball Brothers? They're still around, but no longer manufacturing glass jars.
Ball hasn't produced glass here since 1962, and they haven't produced glass, Ball Corporation, since the mid-90s. But Ball jars are still being made. And that's what Ball does now. They're in the aerospace industry, and they produce aluminum beverage cans.
And we can't train factory workers for a factory that doesn't exist.
With the deterioration of manufacturing as an industry in Indiana, what has filled the economic void? The wane of manufacturing has given rise to a new niche in the glass industry: glass as an art. Over the years, glass craft has slowly grown into a large artisan community within Indiana. Evidence of this is the Glass Trail, a passage linking all of Indiana's best glassmakers, galleries, and festivals. The Glass Trail passes through Muncie and includes such pieces as Sonata by Christopher Rees at the Kennedy Library, Catalyst by Beverly Strucker at Minnetrista, and Light Symphony by Stephen Knapp in Sursa Hall at Ball State University. The university is also doing its part to ensure that the glass remains a significant force in Muncie. Named after the Ball brothers, Ball State University has opened its first center for glass, the Marilyn K. Glick Center, in 2010.
The Glick family are huge supporters of the arts, and our sort of mandate here was a gift from Marilyn Glick, and her sort of mission, I suppose, was to preserve the history of glassmaking in Indiana.
The Glick Center helps show the new paradigm for glass in Muncie, its relation to art and industry, and that this is a medium that will endure through economic tribulation.
The good news is that more places like the Glick Center for Glass open up. And so in the States especially, glass isn't going away by any means. It's not a dying craft. It never will be. The industry model is changing. So it's going from one of industry to academic education and using the material for contemporary design and sculpture, not so much for functional goods or sort of ornamental objects. And it's not the end of the world, it's just different. And so we're sort of trying to change that model to keep glass exciting and present and sort of in the lives of people just in a different way.
So what can the community do to help ensure Muncie's economic growth through glass?
Public outreach and what's it going to take to bring industry back to Muncie? Repealing the recent legislation out of the State House.
And that's by creating a more welcoming place with a diverse community that people might want to bring their business here and might want to make something in doing it.
What I've always thought, and this has nothing to do with politics, is that Muncie was able to reinvent itself, not just Muncie, but other towns were able to reinvent themselves after the gas boom, because the gas was gone and a lot of the companies either shut down, moved on, and you still had Ball and Hemingway and like that. But you also segued into another form of industry. You segued into the auto industry, and probably most people think of this area more auto than anything else, just because it was more recent. And my thought is, if you can essentially change a whole city from this because of resources gone into this because you still had resources, workers, then we ought to be able to change again.
So with our facility and with our faculty, we're generating a lot of interest, and there's been a lot of sort of buzz around this program, and so we're starting to bring people into the area. So in my mind, that's the best way to stimulate the economy.
As you look into the future, the idea that at the premise was that we have the potential of making things here. And glass has one of those components, obviously, as part of that history. Now we have expertise, and the idea that what's happening across the country is the idea that there's going to be a new industrial revolution, and that new industrial revolution is going to evolve around makers. So the intent in terms of what we've been working at here in Muncie is try to elevate a conversation that says Muncie has a great history of making things, and we need to capture that and begin to rebrand and look at it as an economic development effort as a way to attract and keep young people here.
Muncie is working on doing just that. Currently, a project is underway that will connect both the community, local universities, and institutions to crafts like glassblowing and strengthen our current makers market. It is called Muncie Makers Hub or Makerspace. There is an old building downtown called the Centus Building. It used to be an industrial laundromat and is 86,000 square foot. It's currently in the process of being bought by the city and owned as a not-for-profit for Muncie Makers Hub. Plans include a brewery, labs, studios, and high-tech fabrication equipment.
So the intent has been to take that idea and create, I like to say, let's create a sandbox where everybody can play. So that innovation and where people who have ideas can come and kick that around. So it's not just artists, it's also taking that and saying that if you are a software developer, you're a maker. If you're a video photographer, you're a maker. If you are a food maker, you're a baker. Sort of the millennials don't like to sit in cubicles. They like to be out somewhere where it's much more public, a third place kind of dialogue. So having flex space, having place that I can rent a little bit for what I need. If I want a 3D printer, or if I can come in and I can be a part of a club. I can join that. I can use it when I need it, but I don't have to have the big investment. So innovation is part of that. So we see a great potential in that for Muncie, and obviously a strain of that is going to be the potential for glass.
But I'm willing to do whatever we need to, because I'm convinced that that's an economic development tool, an engine that we haven't thought about in the past, and I think the timing's just absolutely perfect for it.
We've envisioned a very eclectic group of people in there under a pretty broad definition of making.
We're moving just about as fast as we can. People tell me that we're moving at warp speed. I don't feel like we are, but I know when I go home on Friday evenings, I'm pretty tired from the week. Yeah.
Time is not static. As we progress, so does our history. Glass in Muncie will continue to grow and evolve with the city as an industry, as an art, and as a defining factor for the community, because what Muncie makes Muncie.